Hello, students. Today we have a wonderfully fun little trip through human traits, inherited human traits that we're going to walk you through. We're going to have an exploration of what kind of traits you have, and then we're going to compare them to your classmates.
So you're going to want to take little notes about which of these traits are your traits as we give you some different choices. For example, the first trait we're going to look at is, do you have the ability to roll your tongue? The girl on the left can't roll her tongue. The girl on the right can do taco tongue.
Oh yeah, that's what lately we started calling it taco tongue. Some people can even cloverleaf their tongue, but if you don't have the right muscles in your tongue to make it sort of go into a shape you're trying to make it go into, then you are a non-tongue roller. So if you can do the taco tongue, etc., you are positive, you do have
Tongue roller.
you are a tongue roller.
So you right now need to write down a note for yourself somewhere on a little piece of paper of, are you a tongue roller or not? And this is what we call a genetic inherited trait. You got that trait from one or both of your parents, and we'll talk more about how that happens as this unit goes on. So that's our first trait, tongue rolling.
Oh, second trait is the presence of a widow's peak. If you notice, Leonardo DiCaprio at the top there has a little point. Some people call that Eddie Munster hair. Maybe that's sort of old passe. President Obama doesn't. He has a straight hairline. He has no V at the top of his forehead, where his hair comes meets his forehead.
So you may need to pause the video here and pull back your bangs and have someone take a look at your hairline and tell you, do you have a widow's peak or a straight hairline? Write down which trait you have.
All right, now we're ready to talk about your earlobes. Now this can be a little tricky. You will need somebody to look from the side or maybe get near a mirror. Some of you will have what we call attached earlobes, and if you notice, the attached earlobe, the skin from the ear is sort of going right into the side of the face, as opposed to the earlobes that are we called free or detached. That earlobe sort of scoops down and comes back up a little bit, so that if I was sort of flopping or taking my finger to the edge of that earlobe, it might sort of, sort of flick,
Wiggle.
it might wiggle a little bit. It's a little bit difficult, but most of the time you can tell if you have attached for sure, and you can tell if you have free for sure. Some people can be sort of in the middle. You write down whether or not you think you have free earlobes or attached earlobes.
Next up is your toes. Yes, you may have to look at your toes actually, because believe it or not, sometimes we don't know this about ourselves until we take a peek at our toes. There is a genetic trait that causes your second toe to be a little bit longer than your big toe for some people.
So you're thinking that the big toe is your first toe.
Yes.
The second toe is the next
your
one.
second
Okay.
toe. Yeah. So
That is definitely longer, isn't it?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us have just this cascade of toes that go down in steps where it gets higher and higher up until your big toe is the tallest toe or the longest toe on your foot.
And there's other things about toes that are some people have hammer toes or straight toes, but really we're only looking at that if you have second toe longer or not.
Then your knuckles. You have knuckle hair for some of us. It's called mid-digital hair. Another word for fingers is digits. And this is your mid-knuckle right here. And so do you have hair on your mid-knuckles or not?
If you bend your finger right now and you look at your finger, it sort of bends into three distinct pieces. The one that comes up away from your hand, and then the flat piece, and then the fingertip piece. So you're looking at that middle part. If there's hair there, and this could be a little weird because some of us are still growing our body hair. It's just, and that might show up later, especially men, especially a lot of times we end up thinking about think of your grandpa. He seems to have hairier ears and noses and things like that.
And of course, facial hair.
And facial hair. So if you don't have any, just write down whether or not you see any hair. It could be even little fine hairs, but any hair there or not. If it's smooth or maybe a little bit hairy. Okay. Those are some dimples.
We're looking next at the presence of dimples, and yes, you're going to have to smile right now.
Big
smile.
Big as you can smile.
Have someone look to see, do you have these little dents in the sides of your cheek? For some of you, they might be pretty deep dents. And those dents are called dimples, and that is a genetic trait that is passed on from parent to child. So make a note as to whether you have dimples or not. Next trait is
Oh,
your
oh, one.
thumb.
I'm so sorry.
Do-
I had to try to turn off that. Their thumb. You have some people will have a thumb that goes straight up and down, and some people will have a thumb like that bends backwards, like this. What we call the hitchhiker thumb. Imagine if you were hitchhiking, although nobody hitchhikes anymore because it's totally not the thing to do.
Yeah.
And we so write
Do
mark
you
down
have
whether you're regular
regular
or
or a
hitchhiker.
hitchhiker thumb? Next is your hair color, and we're talking about your natural hair color. Is it dark, like this young lady's hair? So we're talking like really dark brown or black hair. That's dark. That's what we qualify as dark hair. And the non-dark hair is hair that's red or blonde or kind of sandy colored.
Yeah.
So do you have dark hair or non-dark
And
hair?
this is your natural color
Yeah,
if
I
you
said
have
that.
highlights
Yeah,
or whatever. So even that dirty dishwater hair,
like this
that's
little girl's
that's
kind of
supposed to be,
sandy hair.
yeah. So that's lighter color.
Okay.
Oh, and then we have the curly or the straight haired people. Now, curly in would be like when you get out of the shower. Is it curly? And this doesn't count whether you straighten it or not. Are you naturally curly or not naturally curly?
Okay, and even wavy, we're talking about. When we talk about
Mm-hmm.
curl, it's any body or texture to your hair. It's curl or wave. And then
Sure.
straight is that stick straight hair that just doesn't really have any curl to it. Okay, last.
Oh, this can be one of the hardest ones. This is the shape of your nose. And again, a lot of times when we're children, not too many children have a convex nose. But
Like that.
the nose is sort of one that might arch out a little bit. So right at the top of the nose, it sort of arches out a little bit. Some people call that a Roman nose or a
Mhm.
Huguenot nose. The concave nose is something that bends and looks like maybe it turns up a little bit. So
At the
almost like a
end.
little ski jump in the end. So you're looking at something that comes out or something that sort of tips up versus to know if you're concave or convex.
Great. Last thing we're going to ask you to do is now take your data on yourself, on your genetic traits, and enter it into your class's Google form so we can analyze our genetic data within our class. Thanks for playing along.